Bye, love you.
For the first time in their young lives, these homeschoolers will be free from parental supervision. But their parents need not worry. At Patrick Henry, the students are bound by a strict code of behavior.
I'm frankly a little nervous this morning because of the gravity of what you're going to be taking part in. It's really unique. Here at PHC, what you're going to do today is you're going to sign the Student Covenant and Honor Code together.
All right, the way this is going to work, the front row will get up, come to the front, sign both of these documents. I would appreciate silence as people sign. I will not use alcohol, tobacco, or illegal drugs. 1 Corinthians 6, 19 and 20. I will shun obscenity, pornography, and sexually explicit material. Matthew 5, 27, 28. I will reserve sexual activity for the sanctity of marriage. 1 Corinthians 6, 18. I will resolve personal conflicts biblically. Matthew 5, 23, 24. I am willing to be held accountable and will hold my fellow students accountable to these tenets. Does the Bible strictly prohibit the consumption of alcohol? I believe no. But we want to be above reproach and start a new trend and shape the culture and lead the nation for Christ.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord.
The students have not only signed their names to the honor code, they've also sworn to uphold the basic tenets of evangelical Christianity.
I want to see you.
The term Christian liberty has a kind of theological component to it. It implies the liberation we have in Christ from the law and sin. My ultimate love is Christ. Because that is true, that means in my life a certain mission. I want to serve him. I want to share him with my culture.
How can it be that religion is necessary to the maintenance of Republican institutions, whether or not, you see what he's saying? Whether or not they believe it.
Every class at the college is taught from a biblical perspective.
You have to have a moral, virtuous people if you're going to have liberty, because you're going to have to regulate yourself. He says, at the end of the section, he says, and what makes a people master of itself if it has not submitted to a deity?
Is it necessary that the religion be Christianity?
Because Christianity is one of the oldest religions and has that basis, that would set it above everything else.
Christianity, therefore, reigns without obstacles on the admission of all. So even those who maybe don't believe this admit, yeah, here in America, Christianity.
The cause is Christ. And certainly at this time, I think I can assert that the cause of Christ is advanced in this little part of creation by Patrick Henry College.
And your book talks about gene regulation in a molecular sense, but doesn't really talk a lot about what that means for the organism.
Science is part of our culture, and I think understanding the difference between good science and bad science is incredibly important.
How does a cell know to become a leg in a fly?
Like the students, the staff must also sign the college's statement of faith. It requires, among other things, that they teach creationism in their biology classes.
I personally think the key to understanding geologic observation is the flood of Genesis. And so that the reason we have strata in the earth is not because things accumulated very slowly over millions of years, but because things got buried in at different times during that flood.
Now, when we think in terms of God's wisdom, again, it is tied to the wonder of creation, but also the wonder of salvation. Theology is eminently practical. Ah, very good. You remember. Theology is eminently practical. It deals with life in its reality.
Great power politics says equality in the international arena is silliness. There is no such thing. After all, which of those little countries that get sort of mocked, is really wanting the responsibility and the attendant right of bringing peace to all of Africa or Southeast Asia or somewhere like that. They don't want that. They wouldn't dream of wanting that.
Truth for us is, first and foremost, the truth that God gives us in His Word. We believe in absolutes, not only because the Bible teaches them, but we find it a logical and rational absurdity to assert that there is no truth.
Patrick Henry is here because a generation of Christians kind of realized we gave up something we shouldn't have, and one thing we can do, not just in the short term but in the long term, is train our children to be effective, more effective in the public square.
Everyday low prices. That's the familiar slogan of the commercial giant known as Walmart. Yet,
the big sports at Patrick Henry College are debate and moot court. They are the bread and butter of the school's program, offering practice for the real world of political activism.
And with regards to that, I would like to ask you, how many people work at Walmart, and how does that compare to the total number of people in the United States?
Well, about 1.2 million people work at Walmart in the United States, and that is a significant portion of the United States.
How many people live in the United States?
I believe it's close to 300 million, but...
Thanks, that's sufficient.
Okay.
That's the kind of questioning that you need to do. Keep it up, keep the pace going, keep him on his toes.
He had good responses, though.
He has good, yeah, he had good responses.
Yeah.
For several years in a row, we've won more total trophies at the national tournament than any other college in the country. I think it was 3 years ago that we won as many trophies as all the other colleges in the country combined.
Your Honor, time and time again, this court has made clear that there's no place within the Establishment Clause.
Moot court is so central to the college's mission that President Farris himself coaches the team.
Baltic Church permission to use Jones Park is...
The actual skill that you're learning involves knowing in depth an argument that you really don't agree with. And I make students, regardless if they agree with me or disagree with me, prove what they say.
Resources are completely open to religious uses.
Look at me. Your eye contact with me was 2 seconds at best.
Right.
Okay? I gave you one question that was essentially a softball. When you're throwing a softball, hit it. You take the bat and you belt it.
Okay.
Mr. Chief Justice, and may it please the court, my name is Matthew Roach. I, along with my co-counsel Ashley Trim, represent the petition in this case, the city of Nur.
One of my goals is to raise up a few people that are really at the top of the legal profession, and they get in the zone where they can become the Attorney General of their state, maybe Supreme Court of the United States.
If the government is actively involved in this case, even if it's not even intending to, there's an excessive government entanglement.
Enough kids in the farm system, somebody's going to get the major leagues.